This is a special episode for me. As you've noticed, I've got a new intro and new Shy Chef art, which should fix most of your complaints, new art, new expressions, a hat that actually fits my head. Unfortunately, I can't just remove him like one of you asked me to, so I'm sorry about that. I'm sure you have questions, like, by the way, that's right, that's you. Like, what happened to my old designs? Don't worry about it. And why the new designs? Well, as of last Wednesday, my channel is now 1 year old. Simultaneously really impressive, and also not at the same time. That's right, I've been around YouTube for 1 year. So, this video is going to be a little special. At the end, I'm going to go unscripted to talk about feelings, if you want to hear that. But more importantly, I wanted this video to tackle something special. I was thinking of doing a webtoon that got turned into a K-drama, since my first video was a K-drama for some weird reason. But instead, I wanted to look back at one of my most popular videos. Is John the villain or the victim? And this is my formal invitation to tell you, stop watching that one. This will be a remake of that video, going over some of the stuff in that video and introducing the 10 months of new information we got. But before getting into this video, let's address the biggest problem with the last video and definitely this video. The title. Is John the villain, the victim, monster, misunderstood? First of all, I titled these that title because I thought it would be cool. But it's really asking the questions, were John's actions understandable? Were they forgivable? Were they justifiable, and were they reasonable? Should we be rooting for him or against him? Should we want him to succeed or not? So let's start at the beginning. John Doe, the most average name ever, starts out the series by being a little less than average. In a world where basically everyone has a cool ability, from lightning and laser beams to a shield, and a strange lock-on ability or whatever Eisen has, John doesn't. As a cripple, John is constantly being bullied by others, basically everyone. And due to his lack of ability, he has to find creative ways to deal with his problems. John has become a master of bluffing in hand-to-hand combat. If he can't fight his way out, then he'll bluff his way out. The perfect example is right at the beginning of the series. We see John easily counter another student's punch, and when the other student is using his ability, John baits the student and yeets him out a window. However, there's kind of already an issue with what I presented. John has a dark and mysterious past. He has an ability. It's likely that John has one of the strongest abilities in the school. While before, we really didn't know the exacts of his ability, we now know that his ability, or a manipulation, is more than just mirroring and powering up someone else's ability. He can apparently alter his aura flow, which means he can increase the intensity of abilities, which means John can be stronger, faster, and better than almost any other student. But John holds that power back, because we got to see what happens when that power went to his head. It's weird to think that John was always really aggressive. He was always mad at the world because of his lack of ability. But when he was finally given a chance to fight back, well, it looks like Keon wasn't wrong. So your name is John. Quite unique. You're a late bloomer as well. I've dealt with kids like you before. You're all the same. Your biggest wish growing up was to become powerful, wasn't it? Becoming strong so that no one can mess with you anymore. Just like the elite and the high tiers. Yes, but the problem here is that your wish came true. So now you think you can do whatever you want, right? What you don't understand is that everyone in society has a role to fulfill. You're lost, mindlessly throwing power around. You haven't a clue what to do. You have absolutely no control. That's why all late bloomers, like you, are doomed to fail. We have more and more of John's backstory, more of his personality, his life, and the more we hear, the more Keon's words ring true. John's biggest wish was to become powerful, strong. His biggest wish was to fight back against the bullies, against the people who pushed him down and his friends down. And when he got that power, he attacked everyone who ever treated him even slightly poorly. After zooming his way to the top, he eventually goes overboard, hurting almost everyone in his class, even the people who he used to care about. John understands that he hurt the only people who actually cared about him. So he goes to Williston to try and turn over a new leaf. We hear him lament this issue. Why? All I wanted was to be ordinary, to be able to get along with others. But why? Why is that when I finally get what I want, all of it turns out to be fake? What am I doing wrong? I came to Williston to turn over a new leaf. I wasn't selfish. I didn't boast about my power. I didn't hurt anyone. How did things end up like this again? John's path down his eventual anger outburst and his overall arc of being the Joker revolves around his only friend, Seraphina. During her suspension, John is left alone and vulnerable, and Arlo takes advantage of that loneliness. And when they start to seemingly be friends, Arlo betrays that friendship by dragging him out and ambushing him. While that is terrible, it's not the point of no return. John is willing to let Arlo continue being king even after he was technically dethroned. Because to John, there's only one person who matters, Seraphina. If life went back to the way it normally was, then John would have went back to his old life. However, after Seraphina loses her powers and starts to get bullied, John realizes that he has to fight, he has to protect her. And we get to see all of his anger, all of his frustration, and all of his vengeance when he's talking to Remy. It's about time people realize how useless you high tiers are. None of you deserve to be put on a pedestal. You're all arrogant and entitled, and you abuse your power. Everyone's better off without you. With everything that goes on here, you consider this place safe? You guys are the ones who start the fights. Zeke is an elite, yet he beat me up as a welcome for moving in. And those two idiots outside broke my wrist, shot a beam at my head. Oh, let's not forget Arlo. Dragged me out and ambushed me, just for trying to befriend him. In all the time I've spent here, there's hardly been a day where I haven't been injured. Sorry for changing some of the colorful language, but the point is still there. John's life is suffering. John's life is constant suffering and pain. For a full year, he's had to endure beatdown after beatdown, and that's not something I need to explain to you. The webtoon is constantly showing how often John is beat down, betrayed, and injured. Which brings us to the point of this video, and to those questions I asked at the beginning of it. Were John's actions understandable? Were they forgivable? Were they justifiable? And were they reasonable? The order of these questions are deliberate. They're ordered in a way that's easiest to answer to hardest. Were John's actions understandable? Yes, I think that's what this video is kind of trying to show. It's easy to understand why John decided to turn. Why he decided to fight against the people who bullied him, but more importantly, who started to bully Seraphina. John has always had the power to fight back, but now he has a reason to fight back. After seeing how people treated Seraphina, he decided to take Arlo's advice. Shut up, Arlo. You're the problem. You and every other garbage person who is part of this crappy system. The reason you approached me? The reason people won't leave Sarah alone? It's all because of your fixation on the hierarchy. You want me to do something, Arlo? Then fine. I will. I'll start by tearing down your precious system. I'm gonna break the hierarchy. How's that? John is kinda like a wild animal, lashing out at those who hurt him and the person who he cares about. Our next questions are just kind of dependent on who you are. Were John's actions forgivable? That's just how much you're willing to forgive someone for their, I'll be honest, brutal actions. However, if you're willing to overlook John's actions, then you kind of have to forgive everyone. Because yes, people were terrible to John. People were constantly bullying him, constantly beating him down. But John was equally, if not worse, than these other people. Which brings us to the last two questions. Were John's actions justifiable and reasonable? You have to understand that the world of Unordinary isn't our world. Actions that are justifiable or reasonable in their world might not be justifiable and reasonable in our world. It's the same issue that I needed to bring up in the Unordinary character chart series. Their world is, well, more than ordinary, with powers and constant destruction of school property. Like, really, I got in trouble for writing on a desk and these two destroy a wall over a doesn't matter, that doesn't matter. Whatever, the point is that we need to realize that our morals, our reason, our logic isn't the same as the morals, the reason, and the logic of Unordinary. Which means that justifiable and reasonable can be difficult to say, and is really how you interpret the series of Unordinary. I know that this video is really just a recap of what John has done, and John not being perfect. Of course, there are no saints in this webtoon. Everyone has screwed up more than they should have. Some people abuse their power. Some are crushed by the expectations of the world and take it out on others. Some don't understand how their system hurts others. And John isn't any better. He abuses his power, and the expectations of his powers push him down a path where he needs to defend his friend. I'll be honest, there is no one answer to this question. Literally, while writing this script, I got multiple comments defending John as a hero, a villain, an anti-hero. It's up to your perspective. It's up to your moral code, up to your idea of payback and revenge, up to your idea of what the series is, whether he's justifiable and reasonable. That's really up to you. I know I said this would be an update, but it's really kind of the same. We know more about John's past and his willingness to try and destroy things over friendship or whatever, even when he doesn't really have any more friends. But really, nothing has changed. We know who John is, and we know who John is becoming. Looking to our past, we can see that he might change for the better, but he might change for the worst, and, well, we always kind of knew that, right? But that's kind of the charm of John. Because we want to see him get better. We want to see his life get better. We want to see him get his friends back. Even become friends with the high tiers of Wellston, or even any other student in Wellston. We want to see the hierarchy change. But whether John is in the right, well, that's up to you. But like always, thank you for watching. For the few of you who are here to hear about my unscripted feelings, hello. But 1 year, it feels like a lot, but it doesn't seem like a lot. But thank you for that. You couldn't have told me last April that I was going to be talking about webtoons on YouTube and people were actually going to watch it. Like, that would have been unbelievable to me. Because that wasn't my plan, you know? But even if it wasn't my plan, I'm still glad I'm doing it. But remember, this channel is as much as yours as it is mine. If you want to hear me talk about something, then let me know, please. I'll maybe even do a poll. But thank you for 1 year, and let's hope that the next year is just as good, if not better. Thank you.